For those of you who don't know Krishan and are newer to our community, she is my amazing editor for my book. This woman is responsible for getting this message out into the world. She is the one who saw the vision from the first place and fell in love with it. And I fell in love with her and knew she And so, Krishan, welcome to this call and this community.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. And why don't you, we're going to get deeper into the conversation in a minute, but why don't we start with you introducing yourself and telling everyone a little bit about your background and who you are and what you're up to in the world.
Okay, I just want to be sure that I'm not too far away and that you can see me first. I'm good?
Gorgeous.
Okay, good.
Gorgeous, darling.
Okay, good. Well, I am an executive editor at Hachette Books, Gina's publisher, and I've been there since 2016, but I've been in publishing for over 15 years. And I've worked at big publishers, small publishers. I've done a lot of different things in publishing. And I fell in love with Gina and her book right away. It instantly spoke to me, and I felt that she spoke a language that I had never heard before. And it resonated with me, and we acquired it at Hachette in an auction, and Gina went with us, and it was just very exciting to work on this. And Gina has really changed my life, and I've just loved the community that is here. And I've been to the live events in person, and those were fabulous as well. So I'm really happy to support Gina in every kind of way, and all of you women here in every kind of way, because I really admire the energy here and the love here, and it's just really embodies what Gina has been to me and working together. And I just think that you all are just so wonderful.
Thank you. I mean, look at you. You're looking on how we can support, or how you can support us. And so much of this call is how we can support you. So let me just start, Krishan. How are you and how are you doing?
Well, you and I chatted a little bit. I am okay. It's just been a really tough time. It's been like that for all of us. I think there's just so many things being thrown at us now, and the world is sort of, I think it was you that said sort of vomiting all of this up in a way. And I really that really resonates with me. It's just, it's just shocking. I've just been sort of lost for words. What's been happening in the news with the Black community, from all the people dying from COVID, and as sort of a repercussion of a lot of the struggles that we've had as a Black community for so long, that just constantly overlooked. And I feel that with the deaths from COVID, it really brought out, it brought up these issues in a very bold way. The lack of health coverage, the struggles that we've been, during the housing crisis, back in, what was that, 2007? I mean, this is just another, thing that we're, when the country's suffering, Black communities are suffering more because, of all the history that we've had to, endure. It's really just put us in a bad position as a whole. And then when things happen, you really see that sort of exposed. Unfortunately, when things happen and the exposure is made on media, that's when we get a lot of attention about it. But usually we don't get a lot of attention about it. We take care of it within our community ourselves and try to help and support each other. But we don't get a national platform to really speak about these things or people to care in this way. So it's been really beautiful to see people from other communities, like this session, holding forums about a lot of these issues and really concerned about what's happening in these communities, because it's just constantly overlooked.
How's your son?
Blue is good. I mean, he is a very spiritual child, I think. He does a lot of prayer and really understands the world, I think, from that level. He's a Catholic schoolboy. And so, we're going to go do some protesting tomorrow in New Jersey. And, he's down with it. He, with COVID, he was very much into, you know, leadership and really watching Cuomo every night, every day, you know, talk about what's happening. So he just, you know, he's a really strong boy, and I believe it's a lot to do with his spirituality. He loves religion. He really believes in God, and the stories really help pull him through tough times. So that's where he stands. Yeah.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
What message would you like to share with this community? I think I just want to keep it open-ended. Like,
Yeah, I have a message. My message is, you know, I love the fact that people are trying to educate themselves now. I think that's extremely important. One thing that people in publishing, as Black people, we're the minority. There's only a couple of handfuls, barely 2 handfuls of Black editors, and probably just 2 Black publishers. So one thing we always say is that we read everything. Like you have a ton of followers as a motivational speaker, that are women of color, and especially women, but people of color, we just read everything. We don't really say, oh, that's not for us because we're Black. And I just think that it's really important that, you know, in my world as an editor, for more white readers to start reading our stories and really learning about who we are, and like treasuring our stories as much as we treasure some of those stories that are not like specifically about our culture. And I just think that, you know, I really love seeing that. And I really hope that people do educate themselves and continue to. And it's not only educating yourself on the pain, but also the beauty. There's a lot of beautiful stories that we have to share. And I just think that celebrating African Americans a lot more I think that's what has been coming up, because we have been through a lot and we have gotten through it, and we are, you know, not only survivors, but we are a group that has really, you know, we should be an inspiration in America. We should not be, you know, second class citizens or anything like that. So I just think celebrating that history, educating yourself on the journey, is really beautiful and important. And I just advise parents, there's a lot of mothers in your group, which I love because I'm a mother. You know, it really starts, you know, maybe our generations are a little bit late and a little, you know, damaged, but we have a lot we can pour into our children, and just educating them about race. And, you know, I think it's okay. It's really hard to talk about race to a child though, Gina. Like, I remember when Blue first came home, and had his first racist comment said at school. I mean, his school is predominantly Asian, and you know, there's a small group of, like, he was like the only Black child, one of 2 maybe in his class, and there are also white children. But one day, you know, they're in Catholic school, so one day I guess they were reading something from the Bible, and one of the kids took it as, oh, you're made from mud, you're made from dirt. And he was like, Mommy, are we made from dirt? Is that why we got this color? And so I didn't know what to do. I was like in the closet, like I was just doing something in my closet, like organizing my closet. And here I have this little 4-year-old come and ask me this question that I've been sort of dreading his whole life, you know, as a Black mother, for him to experience racism or anything. And I wasn't prepared. I was just like, I wish your dad was around. In my head, I was like, oh my God, where's his father? His father would do so much better in this discussion. So then what I told him is, I just said, I knew I had to say something. So I just said, you know what? That's fine that you know, you're not made about mud. He's saying that because your skin is of different complexion, is more brown. And actually it is a good thing. I said, you know what? When he goes out into the sun, he probably gets a lot more like heat rashes and stuff. But with our skin, we can stay out into the sun and we can play in the sun, and it's like it's called melanin. It's something that we're born with inside of our skin, and it's actually just, you know, a biological difference, and that's it. I mean, and it's really helpful to us. And he loved it. He was just like, he felt like he had a superhero power. And I think, you know, those sort of things, You know, it builds confidence. And, you know, I could have went into the whole thing. I could have went into a lot of very painful things to him, but I chose to go into it in a way that was going to encourage him and make it a beautiful thing for him. And I think it was really good that I did that.
Oh, you are incredible. And you're wondering where this spiritual child comes from. Look at how you know, handled that, and how just, I mean, and that another 4-year-old would say that, you know, just.
Yeah. My heart dropped.
It's, yeah. So what else do you want to say or share about what's going on, either to women of color, to white women, anything?
Yeah, I think it's what I feel good about. I don't know about the other women in this community, other Black women, or I just like that we're talking about it, because sometimes it's sort of like the elephant in the room. And I really love your community because it really does seem diverse, and I really don't see that in a lot of communities that I go into personally in my life. I try to, but you just, you know, a lot of times women, especially professional women, we have to sort of just exist in these communities and, you know, not really acknowledge that we're here and we're different and we're coming from a different place, and you know, loving ourselves, and we still love ourselves and everything, but it is there. So I love that it's being acknowledged. And I really like the vulnerability of, you know, that you've been expressing, you know, like it doesn't have to be I think it's really annoying to Black women sometimes when it's like, I've been awakened, or, you know, this whole white guilt approach. But I do think it's respected when, you know, it's just acknowledged and received and appreciated and respected. I think respect is a huge deal. And I think the more we can do that within our businesses, you know, this is a group of women who are leaders and entrepreneurs like you. And we could just, my message actually was that, you know, when you ask me what I want to share with people is like, make sure you're hiring Black people, you know, Black women, Black men. Make sure when you have your businesses that you are not just existing with the status quo and, you know, looking around the room and just only see people that look like you to exemplify your message. You know, you're really doing something when you can look around the room and you have all different sorts of people who are coming with the same mission as you or want to support your mission, but they all are coming from maybe a different angle or a different culture. And I love that about the queen philosophy that you approach, because there's so many different ways to be a queen and to really show that beauty in our cultures, and everybody should be proud of it. I love when you talk about your Italian roots, and I really see, you know, how it resonates with me with my African American roots. You know, it's just like so many things we have in common, and so many things are beautiful, and we can learn from each other. It's just nice to talk about it.
When you mentioned, you know, we're all coming together, but the elephant in the room, how would you describe the elephant in the room?
I think a book that you should read, or I would recommend to people, is the Ta-Nehisi Coates book, I always mess up the title, Between the World and Me.
One more time.
It's his name is Ta-Nehisi Coates. Ta-Nehisi Coates. It's a hard name, but the last name is Coates. He's the son of a Black activist, and he's a great writer himself. Okay. His book is Between the World and Me. I'm sure a lot of women in the feed might know it. It's a beautiful, small book that I read it on the train ride to Canada. It's really short and it's really engrossing, page-turning read. He talks about how it actually feels to be Black. I mean, different from the James Baldwin, who was, he's sort of a James Baldwin of this time, maybe some would say. But James Baldwin has, you know, done it in a very, you know, sort of intellectualized way, but Ta-Nehisi's Coast is just like a memoir, but that's what it's about. It's just how he feels living in this skin. And a lot of times Black women, especially like me, who are professional, and I'm sure a lot of women here are going to relate, we are who we are. Like, we just want to be ourselves, and we have like great energy, and we feel good, and we feel powerful, and we feel sexy and creative. And but still there is this living in this Black skin that you really are aware of. So we are in boardrooms where we are the only one, and sometimes just walking in with this Black skin, you're instantly different. So if you can imagine, I mean, I know you know how it feels, Gina, especially as an entrepreneur. You know, you, Gina DeVee, walking into a room, let's say in Wall Street, you're surrounded by business people like you, but maybe they all are like white men in suits. And you know that you're walking in as a queen, Gina DeVee. Like, you're just like loose. You want to be yourself, but you're still a woman. It feels like that. You're just like kind of walking around in this thing that you love, though. But it also can feel like some people sort of may want to put you in a cage because of it, or a box. So it's something that you constantly have to deal with almost every day of your life. When you go out into the world, you're constantly representing this skin also. So like, even in conversations I'm having with you right now and your audience as a Black woman, I'm not just having it thinking about myself and what your group is going to think of me, but I'm representing like a whole race, because people are going to leave here with an impression of me. And unfortunately, when it comes to race, unlike a lot of other things, we carry them with them. So it's important to me to be a leader. And like, when I was, I'm sort of well, maybe you don't know because I've been your only editor, but I have been like very, I try to do things differently. I try to be seen, because I think somebody's going to remember me. And when it's time for one of the women in this group or wherever, they're going to remember Krishan, and they're going to hire another young Black woman and not be afraid, or not feel like she could do the job a little bit less. Like, I really admire some of my authors who go with me, because I know there's a pressure to go with what may feel more safe, and having a editor who sort of blends in with everything. But if you're going with someone who is different and stands out, I don't know, was that something that you thought about? Like, was that a question for you when you met me? Did you know that I was Black? And like, let's do some real talk about that. I've never asked an author that before.
My vision is, fairly 2020. So I honestly, and we'll get to this in a little bit. So when I walked in the room, so for those of you that don't know, I have this incredible agent who set up, I was blessed with having 7 meetings with top New York City publishers over the course of a number of days. And I had never done this before, so I didn't know what to expect. But apparently that was a really great turnout. And we walked in, and the meeting with Krishan and Hachette just happened to be the first meeting of 7 over a course of a number of days. And I walked in, and I saw Krishan, and I was like struck, and I said, "She's a queen." Like, that's just what I whispered to Wendy, "She's a queen." And for those of you who've met Wendy, or what, like, Wendy is also very much a queen, and she's like, "Well, yes, Krishan's a queen," and she, and so we sat down in the meeting, and Krishan, here's what I saw. Like, I saw that I resonated with you. I saw your heart for the book. I saw how intelligent you are. I saw, for me, that also aesthetically you were a queen, but you also held yourself like a queen, and I enjoyed our interaction. I mean, that's what I saw. And I mean, I certainly didn't, it would never have dawned on me to ask, because it would, like, to my agent, so what, editors am I meeting with? Are they Black? Are they white?
Yeah.
Are they Asian? Yeah. Are they gay? Are they, like, I mean, that's, I can't, these days you can't even tell, like, based on someone's name if they're man or woman. Like, so.
Yeah, people think I'm a man sometimes.
Oh, really? No, so
yeah.
expectation going in, but here's what I said when we walked out of you're the first meeting, I walked out and I said, she's the one. And when he was like, hold on, Gina, you got 6 other meetings. You need to keep an open mind. Like, she wasn't dissuading me, but she was just doing her job as an agent of saying, you need to be open to see what else is. And so that was my experience of you in the meeting. And then for whatever it's worth, I mean, just to put all the cards on the table, I got another offer that was for significantly more money, I might add. And I don't know if it wasn't about this, like, the woman happened to be white also, who, like, I don't know, I turned down that offer because I knew you were the editor for this book.
Yeah.
That was my experience.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's just, the thing is that I have always felt as a professional that I do have to work harder. Like, I know you've probably heard Black people say this before, but we do feel like we have to do things differently. And for example, even aesthetically, I always try to look professional at work, if you want to know, like, how it feels, because I just don't feel that I would get the same respect, honestly, if I went into the office with my jeans and sneakers. I don't like wearing jeans and sneakers. I'm a girly girl. I love shoes. But even on days where I could, I just don't, because I need to present like a boss, or what I think in my head looks like a boss. And because I am sort of at a place that there's something to prove, even though I don't want to prove it. There's something to, like, when I first got my job, I said to my publisher, I said, I'm not only going to do Black books. That is my passion. But to me, it's very important for African Americans to be seen in multiple spaces. And I want to do whatever I want to do. He said, do whatever you want to do. And then that's what I've been doing. And I feel like my books and my work, and I want all the queens here to feel like that. I feel like my work represents diversity, what it's really supposed to mean, because I have authors from all different backgrounds, and I love all of them the same. They love me the same. We all are killing it the same. So, I just want people to know that, you don't have to be an activist out on the streets. You don't have to be, holding sessions every week about race or whatever in your communities. But you do want to make sure that you are contributing. Sometimes people feel that, I had someone say to me, a white woman the other day, who was my friend, she was like, I don't know, like, this was before George Floyd, but she was just like, I don't know, like, basically, I'm not a part of these conversations because I grew up in New York, and, I have, like, that's not, like, I'm not a racist. So, I don't like, she doesn't like when people sort of refer to white people as, like, all bad or whatever. But what I told her in response, because I think that, George Floyd, what's happening right now shows that all of us are in pain. We just have, like, different kinds of pain. And I really believe that. I really believe that white people are sick of this shit too. Sorry to curse, Gina. Mm-hmm. I really think that white people are sick of this. I really feel like they have their own pain as being a part of this, but we all are really a part of it. There's no escaping. There's no separation for any of us. Like, we're just going to have to do what we can or our end. And I just think through our work, those of us who are queens and leaders, like, through our work, we have to just make sure that we are contributing. Maybe you're, like, throwing a fundraiser and donating to certain organizations for social justice or social reforms that you care about, or you are making sure that your team is representing all different perspectives and angles. there's just so many ways to contribute.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. So, I mean, I have so many questions for you, but I'm also just noticing the time. One of the questions that I had for you, Krishan, is I'm getting so many kind of like closed door conversations with white people about they're not speaking up, they're not saying something, not because they don't want to contribute, not because they don't want to say something, but they're terrified and paralyzed about getting it wrong, saying the wrong thing, and then getting attacked, judged, and criticized, and all of that. So what advice do you have for people who, and you know, I outed myself, like before Sunday, that was very much how I felt, like,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna get into that, but because I want to hear from you. But what advice do you have for people who deeply want to, that are concerned, that do want to say something, but are just afraid they're going to offend or get it wrong, and so they're not saying anything or doing anything?
I would say that I would say two things. I would say that some of us, I'm Black, I'm deeply afraid of getting it wrong. Like, I'm deeply afraid, I'm just not an extrovert. So I don't like speaking out. I'm not someone, I've learned, you know, I was furious about a lot of things since Trump was elected. And I mean, there's nothing that I've really said online about it. That's not my style. I am also afraid to say something wrong online. I think a lot of things, I'm publishing a book called Outrage, and it's all about people being mad online and using it as a place to, like, you know, be outraged. So there is this like new culture of outrage online that is pretty scary. So I understand it from that point of view. But I think you have to express yourself. And now with social media, we're also at the same time obligated, and because we have an advantage that our parents didn't have, which is social media. So we do have to use it as a tool. And I say, you just have to pick a day and get some courage and express what you would. Like, a lot of people are not afraid to express things about climate change, or, you know, a lot of other things that we care about, animal rights and everything, even women's rights. I am less afraid to speak out about women's rights than race sometimes. Mm-hmm. Because I just feel like it's not, I don't know how to do it as well. Even though I'm a Black woman, I don't know how to do it as well as like Brittany Patchett or some of these great fierce activist leaders, or some of my authors. So, you know, but I do it in my own way. I think you have to do it, and you have to contribute now in your own way. This is the time. And also, don't just leave it at this time. Find other ways as this, as the history continues, find your own way to express that, and express it visually, or, just even when I see a white woman post about a Black woman in an uplifting way, to me, it's activism, because we are just not celebrated in that way. So I think that, do it in your way, make sure that it's seen. One thing I'll just also include, and we'll talk about this again, but like Hillary Clinton, she had a lot of Black women working behind her campaign, and we didn't see them. Like, she forgot to show that. And if she showed that, that would have helped her so much. And it would have also created unity with us in the women's movement from, that platform. So I think that, show your team, show your, what's your inspiration in this area. It doesn't have to be like speaking out in a way that is combative, but it could be more of a positive, let's lift up these voices, let's lift up these Black bookstores or something. Let's lift up these Black lifestyle coaches, or, brands or something, like, that's the thing. They need that. So there's so many different areas where you can express it in your own way. And so for me, it was like books. I decided to also become an author and do that. And it gives me a reason to talk about it that is not like outside of my comfort zone.
You want to talk about your book for a minute?
We can talk about it the next time because I want to focus on this. But yeah, I published a book called Queens of the Resistance, and it was important for me to include women that are Black. I mean, it's about Maxine Waters, who's Black, AOC, who's Latina, Elizabeth Warren, a white woman, and Nancy Pelosi, who's a white woman. And I just, to me, that's me. Like, that's my form of activism. I'm very pro women's empowerment. I think I love women of color, so I will always lift them up. But I also felt that Elizabeth Warren and Pelosi, as a Black woman, it is very unusual for me to write their stories. And that's even more why I wanted to do it. So, you know, there's so many different things that we can do that actually feel good and creative. It doesn't have to be all, you know, stress and tough work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If I may say, from the transformational space, for because of all of the comments and messages and closed door conversations that white women are coming to me with, like, I want to do something, but I'm terrified to speak up. And I'm curious what you think about this, Krishan. And I wrote about this in the book, about the Little Miss Perfect piece. Mm-hmm. And you know, at the beginning of my career, I was so afraid that because I needed everyone to like and approve of me. And what's been interesting, I didn't speak up, and I got criticized from Black women that because I wasn't speaking up. And at first I got defensive, but then I voice memoed the woman back, and I said, you know what, you're right. I do need to use my platform for this. So, you know, I don't think anyone likes hearing that they got it wrong, but I got it real quick. And I told her, and I wanted to make sure it was a voice memo so she knew it was me. I was like, and I got on Instagram on Sunday, and I went forward. Then I did get criticized with what I said by Black women. And then we got emails sent in. Then I've gotten emails and private DMs sent in, more from white women than Black women, about what and so it's coming in all directions, like, oh, well, now you're just featuring Black women because it's the, you know, politically correct thing to do right now. And, you know, I think there's another comment I said, you know, everyone's hurting right now. And then I go, well, that's another version of white privilege that you are, as a white woman, are saying everyone's. So there's sort of this thing that I guess I just wanted to share with other people, that I'm not letting it define me. And so I think that more good than not is happening from moving forward. And I've personally released my ego from needing to get it right. I've opened myself up that if there's a way that I'm communicating that is insensitive or unconscious or harmful, please bring it to my attention. But, you know, and then I'm going to evaluate who's a troll and with legit feedback where I need to be better educated and understand more and more in tune. So I just wanted to put that out there for that if you think that you're going to go and celebrate a woman of color right now and just get praise from it, might not be the story, but nor does it need to be, because you deserve to be part of this conversation and have your voice be heard and to be part of the progress. Yeah.
And I think I just think of your book and with the meditations and the conversations with God, you really have to be spirit-led and understand that. And then, you know, there will be people who challenge you, and there will be, you know, things that you have to think about. But eventually, you know, if it really is part of your mission, if it really has become part of your mission, it will continue. And you'll probably get like less of that. Like, people will be used to this being part of your space. I think a lot of people of color are just worried about being exploited because, you know, it's just like the same thing happened with other shootings. We have these discussions, white people care, and then nothing is done, and we have our white friends and colleagues just sitting quietly, not saying anything about it. and, you know, currently a lot of people have different opinions about how things should be done. And you just have to accept that. But what it really comes down to is your relationship with your spirit and how you feel that you're communicating. Like, do you feel that God is helping you communicate what's in your heart about this, and, you know, helping you to grow, then, you know, you do that. And anyone that you're offending, well, you can have a conversation with them, or you can have another conversation with God about it and grow from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to see if this can possibly work, Krishan. In our remaining minutes here, I know there's like quite a lag, because when I'm looking over here, I'm not paying attention to you. I'm looking at the comments on Facebook. I want to see if any women have questions for Krishan. Go ahead and type it in the chat here, and just start it out with Krishan, so I know it's a question for her. And if you have any questions or want to hear anything from Krishan on this. Anita Jackson just wrote, I'm so grateful that the line of communication is opening among all women. It's time. Yes. Kate wrote, right on, Krishan Trotman. Let me just see. We're going to give him just a moment. Thanks for the courage to talk on this topic. People keep on complaining, whatever you do, be brave. Let's see. Krishan expressing much gratitude for you, sister, says Jessica. Cheryl said, thank you, Gina and Krishan. Any questions you've got, anybody, for Krishan? I'll just give it a moment to come on in.
Yeah, if you have questions about, you know, maybe what you think as an entrepreneur, like what are your ideas for adding diversity or things that relate to this issue into your businesses? I would love to know what you're thinking. And, you know, Gina's here with her expertise.
One thing I would love, Krishan, if afterwards we can connect, you know, there's so many resources flying around, and, you know, though I know we either have or are going to post in our Facebook group like a thread so everyone can share their resources, but in terms of, like, obviously I don't have time to thoroughly vet all resources, places of donation, you know, webinars and training and education, but that's where I would reach out to people that I really trust, obviously you being at the top of the list. So I love the book that you recommended, and maybe we can get together and create a list of either resources or organizations that you have, you know, great trust in or have learned from. I would really respect your opinion and love to share that with my community.
Yeah, sure.
Cool, we'll do that, but let's see, we got some questions coming in for you. 1 second. Krishan, what is your best anchor in staying true to yourself?
Oh my God, I got such a great question. I've never had that asked of me before. Staying true to myself, my greatest anchor. Gina, help me out. Like, what do you think that this question means as far as anchor?
I mean, I'm not going to speak for you, but I know you have quite a spiritual connection that I think I think about being an anchor.
Yeah, I think, my anchor is probably, I don't know, what comes to me is my spirituality, making sure that I connect daily with God. I'm also someone who just does not like criticism. I'm a Taurus. I'm a pleasure seeker. So I love to connect with God. You know, God makes me feel really good and keeps me grounded because I am doing so many things in my life. I'm also a mother, and I also, you know, I have personal projects, and I have a very demanding day job and work with a lot of people every day. So God is where I go for mental clarity and stability, and I try to start my day like that. Exercise has always been a huge thing for me because I need to release, and also I think my body, I'm very connected with my body. I love to dance. So when my body feels good, I feel good. I like to dress up my body. That makes me feel good. And I really like I love creative. I like connecting myself either to people who are creative or to creative things, books or television, anything that's just like colorful and just giving me life and giving me energy, because sometimes we just get so work oriented and burnt out, and especially you know, as queens trying to get to the next level. So I try to fill myself with pleasurable things like that.
Cool. I saw an Instagram post and you once said, it was a gorgeous picture of your son, and you said, Blue, my greatest source of joy is being your mother.
Yeah, Blue makes me laugh. And he actually wants to be an author now. He wants to be a comedic author. Um, and I like the fact that he likes to report the news. So he's given me sort of a Trevor Noah vibe. So he's reporting the news. He makes me laugh.
That's awesome. Let's take another one. Krishan, what would you like to hear white women say right now?
I would like to just hear white women speaking up, because honestly, like, it really has angered me also when things are just silent from your white colleagues who also, you know, I love millennials. I guess I'm an older millennial, but I guess I mean the younger millennials. I love working with younger people just because there's a lot more boldness and energy and openness, and they're just not afraid. And so, you know, I just love that they speak out. It's not even like they speak out and like they're just on the street protesting, but they're really able to say that this is wrong, and they're really trying to take actions into doing something about it, where I find with some of us who are older, we're just a lot more hesitant and careful and just holding back. And that could be annoying when we're trying to create a movement and be progressive.
Well said. Let's see. What does Krishan think Black women in the transformation coaching industry should do to become more highly paid, famous, and revered in the industry?
Yes. I really think, I don't know, Gina, you know more about that industry, but I think there's a lag. I mean, I follow Yana Van Zant. I love her. I think she's on a whole nother level though. Like, I feel that she's sort of like a priestess or something of that world. But I can't think of a lot of other women of color in that space that are really operating on, like, you know, big stage platform levels. So I don't know what the answers are. I just know that you have to target your audience. And I think sometimes when we're going into, especially the book space, we're trying to go too broad. And I think it's really important not to be afraid to go for your target. For me, as someone who's also putting out material now as an author, I know that I'm writing books also about white women, but who am I targeting right now? I'm going for my target audience who are just going to see me right away and give me the love that I need. And that is my Black community. And it's very important to me that they know that what I'm doing. And it's also, I know that once they know, they're able to reciprocate it, and then we can grow together. But I think when I meet from the author space, some writers of color, I understand they want to be broader. I get it. But you also want to make sure you're taking care of your target. And you know, that's just what it is. Yeah.
You got your Black community that's going to automatically love you, and you got your Queen community now too. So
yes,
we're back when the book comes out. Krishan, how do you think coaches need to consider the oppression of Black women systemically in their practice, i.e., to overcome vulnerability or visibility obstacles due to emotional trauma?
Yeah, I think that I don't think that you can take on that yourself, especially if you're not from, and especially if that's not your culture. You do want to bring in, if you have a business, again, you do want to make your business sort of diverse and make those things available, because for example, therapy, A lot of my Black friends who are into psychology and willing to get mental health treatments and stuff really want to go to a person of color. And it's really can be sometimes hard to find these people. But that is really important in our therapy because a lot of things just come with this Black skin that, you know, it's hard to understand unless you're living it. And I think as much as you can make that available in your coaching somehow, by, you know, having contributors and coaches, that if you feel that that is there's some challenges in that hurdles that you need to get over as a person of color, I mean that your clients have to get over, and they've spoken about that, you have to provide the contributors and the people for that. Doesn't mean that they can't still work with you, but you want to provide extra, you know, extra resources for them.
Awesome. Krishan, how do you feel that businesses can add diversity to their teams and do it in a way that is authentic and not just checking a box off? I have seen the box check off so many times, and that does not work long term because the culture of the business does not match.
Yes. So I'm actually having conversations with my company about that. You know, we love these conversations, but you know, they don't really buy us into the next level of equality and equity. So what we need is actually takeaways and listen to us. So what I've said is I'll be a part of the conversation. You want to have a conversation? We can all have a conversation. I can be a Black woman representing that conversation. But unless I have the top of the company there with me as a partner, meaning the CEO, and I know that from that conversation is supposed to come takeaways for creating change, I'm not going to be a part of the conversation. Like I can go talk to my friends about how I feel, but I will attend meetings where I'm talking to the head of the company, the decision maker. I am a part of a body or a town hall meeting where people of color are coming there with their concerns and what they actually want. And then we can go and assess what the biggest things we want to implement are and figure out even, you know, a game plan initiative for implementing them that we can communicate back to the staff and employees that says, you know, this is what we've taken from your conversation and these are the changes that we've made. So I really think, for example, there needs to be more in corporate for us, those of us who work in corporate on this group. We know that there's a lack of people of color in executive level positions. No matter, like diversity is great, but it's usually at the bottom level. So we need more executives. We need higher ups. So maybe they have to go pick people from other industries and sort of take them over to us and say, oh, you know, have you ever thought about books? But somehow, you know, that's what needs to be done in order for real change to come through.
Awesome, awesome. Krishan, book recommendations for kids.
Oh, well, I work in adults and we're very different. So I don't really know a lot about what's happening in the children's group. And Blue is really my son. He's really into Naruto and Japanese animations and everything. But there are a few Black writers that you could, you know, what you can do is look up Black book Instagrammers. Bookstagramming is a whole thing now. They take pretty pictures with the books and follow some of those Black bookstagrammers, and you'll just have a whole lot of, you know, resources to pick from.
Awesome. Let's see, I know we're past time here. I'm having such a great time. All right, let me see. I'll just do a couple more. I'm just going through this quickly, ladies. See, I'm in South Africa and I avoid talking about racial division with my sons who are 11 and 9. They call Black people brown or dark brown and white people peach or light peach. I'm scared of them realizing that they might one day be judged and treated badly because of the color of their skin. It's a scary thought.
Oh yeah, well, Blue talks like that too. He talks in sort of a crayon thing. Like he'll say, oh, he's older now, but up until probably 8 or something, he would say, oh, they're not black, they're brown, or they're peach. And I would be like, that's not. I didn't really, I mean, every parent is different. Like every black parent, every white parent is different. For me, especially after reading Ta-Nehisi Coates' book and also Ibram Kendi's book, Stamped from the Beginning, it's a big book on how racist ideologies got formed. I really recommend that. Or they have the audio version. He has a kids version. He's on all of these lists for anti-racist books. He also has a book about anti-racism specifically, but I would start with the first book of his. I wanted Blue to understand people first and not be locked into racial discussions, because I knew that he was going to get that, and I knew I was going to give him that, but I needed him to like see and learn about himself first. So I was okay with him talking about people, you know, with their different crayon color shades, and what he thought was like a pink person, and like ours. I'm like, that person has a tan. But you know, some parents are very different. I think you should just be very honest and have these conversations with your children for as long as their attention span can handle it. You know, keep it short and concise and positive, but make them aware if you think that that's what they should be.
So Coach Krishan, how do you balance with being an entrepreneur with motherhood and family?
I read Gina's book. I really could not have done this without Gina's book. I did not have a Queens in my title because of Gina's book, because my agent came up with that title. But I only knew I could do it because I had been working on The Audacity to Be Queen, and Gina gives very specific advice on how to live like a queen and dedicate your time where you feel that it is most valued to you or most enjoyable to you. So I did, I think, I don't know if we were editing or if I was done, but Gina told me to outsource things. So I did not do laundry, grocery shopping. I did not do, what else? I did Glam Squad sometimes when I was going out. But sometimes I still like to go in and get my nails done and stuff. But I just, you know, I outsourced everything my whole life. I put Blue on a play date schedule. So he was out with his friends like every weekend doing fun stuff with them. We didn't do anything together, but he understood that I was on a deadline. He knew when the deadline was and that it would be over. So I just put myself first. Yeah.
Well, Krishan, I want to honor your time, and I'm just going to say like that the chat and the thank yous and the questions, they're almost endless right now. So
oh really? Oh good. Yes, I'm
so
happy.
A busy woman, but if you want to go and check them out just to see what other conversation is happening, they're so grateful. And if everyone, we're going to wrap here just because I really want to be able to honor your time and Krishan's time, but please type in what you've gotten out of this, any remaining comments, what you've learned, any gratitude for Krishan. I'm sure she'll come back and speak and read the comments here. So Krishan, you know how much I love you and appreciate you.
I love you too.
Respect you. Thank you so much for coming and being the first person to open up this conversation so directly in the Queen community. I think that we, you know, we are very proud that it is such a diverse group. It wasn't consciously planned. I think that just the love attracted all women who this group is right for. But what you have brought to the table here has made me so much more conscious, so much more aware, and because of that, I'm going to be so much more intentional.
Yeah.
So, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And I just want to say to the women listening to close out, you know, in support of Gina, I think that we should be expressing other questions about the group or activities, but we should do it from a loving place that is this community, because it's such a wholesome community of love and great vibration. So if we do communicate as women of color about things that we want to ask about to Gina or the crew here, I think we should do it in a way that is that really complements who we are in this queen community. And we do it from, it doesn't have to be a loving, but from a queenly place, high vibration, leadership. And those are, I think that is fine for this community. I don't think we need to do anything but that. And I know that Gina and her people will hear us.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Bye. Love you. Bye. You guys are all great. Love you all.